All right, settle down, you future titans of industry. It's your boy Jordan Belfort, back in the house, and I'm about to drop a truth bomb that's gonna shatter every soft feel-good lie you've ever been sold about success. Most people, they chase motivation like it's a golden goose. They wait for inspiration to strike like lightning. And that, my friends, is why they stay stuck, broke, and utterly mediocre. But listen up. Motivation is fleeting. It's a cheap thrill. A fleeting high. It abandons you the second things get tough. The second the dopamine runs dry. Discipline, however, is eternal. It is the engine that drives success when inspiration has abandoned you, when the crowd has gone home, when every fiber of your being screams to quit and focus. That's your lethal weapon, the sniper's eye that eliminates distractions with surgical precision. Today, we're diving deep into building a level of self-control that borders on superhuman. We're not talking about waking up early, we're talking about forging a will of iron. This isn't just a mindset, it's the operating system of a god, and it's time to install it in your mind. You will learn to command your focus like a sniper, eliminating distractions with lethal precision. You will discover how to push through discomfort, boredom, and fear, not just endure them, but to use them as fuel. Are you ready to stop being a slave to your emotions and become the master of your destiny? Are you ready to cultivate the discipline of a god and the focus of a killer? Then buckle up, because the installation begins now. 1. The myth of motivation, why discipline is your only god. Listen up! Most people are still chasing motivation like it's a resource they can summon on demand. They believe that if they just read the right quote, hear the right podcast, or feel the right burst of energy, they'll suddenly become unstoppable. But that's a dangerous delusion. Motivation is unreliable. Neuroscience tells us, and it's critical, that motivation is unreliable. It's neuromodulator dependent. It fluctuates based on internal states like sleep, nutrition, social connection, hormonal cycles, and external cues. That means it's volatile. It's not something you can build a high-performing life on. What is reliable, what actually reshapes the neural circuitry of your brain, is consistency. Specifically, forced consistency. That means showing up and doing the thing even when motivation is at zero. Rhetorical question. Do you think the winners of this world leap out of bed with fireworks and fanfare? No. They decide, they train, they build the habit. So can you? Discipline is doing what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. Action over intention. Neurons don't fire and wire based on what you hope to do. They wire based on what you actually do. Behavior is the currency your brain trades in. Until you act, your nervous system treats all of your journaling, visualizing, and planning as noise. The more you act, the more efficient the circuitry becomes, and the less energy it takes to act again. That's how habits form at a neural level, through execution, not contemplation. The uncomfortable truth, Jim Rohn used to say, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge, wish for more wisdom. This transforms a reliance on external feeling good into an internal drive for self-improvement fueled by discipline, not fleeting motivation. Story time! The inspired failure. I once had a guy working for me, full of inspiration. Every Monday he'd come in, buzzing with new ideas, new motivational quotes. He'd talk a big game. He'd say, "This is my week, Jordan. I feel it." But by Wednesday, that feeling would vanish, and he'd be back to mediocrity, waiting for the next spark. He was constantly chasing the high of motivation, instead of building the foundation of discipline. I told him, your inspiration is an excuse. It's a crutch for your lack of discipline. I made him implement a brutal regimen of forced consistency. No matter how he felt, no matter what the market was doing, he had to perform his key actions for the first hour of every day. He hated it. He pushed back, but slowly his brain started to rewire. He learned that results came from showing up, not from feeling like it. He learned that discipline wasn't a punishment. It was the ultimate act of self-love, a gift he gave to his future self. Forging the will of iron, embracing discomfort and strain. A godlike discipline isn't born in comfort. It's forged in the fire of discomfort, boredom, and low dopamine states. This is where you separate yourself from the soft masses. The grind of dissatisfaction for the human. There's a moment in every process when the dopamine drops out. That initial spark, that neurochemical wave that makes everything feel exciting and meaningful, it fades. This isn't a flaw. It's expected. That's where most people stop. But that's exactly where the opportunity begins. Because if you can keep going in that dopamine deficit, you're decoupling your behavior from your need for internal reward. You're building what we call persistent circuits, neural pathways that don't depend on spikes in motivation to function. Rhetorical question, are you going to be one of the soft ones who quits when the dopamine runs dry? Or are you going to be a titan who builds when it hurts? Embrace discomfort as a signal. Most people misinterpret boredom and discomfort as signs to pivot or quit. But in neuroscience, those signals are actually markers that you've entered the zone of real neurological adaptation. When you begin to feel bored, it means the brain is no longer being fed novelty. And if you stay in it, you start to build something. Most people never develop friction tolerance, the ability to continue acting even when there's no stimulus, no excitement, no visible payoff. Neuroplasticity through strain. Neuroplasticity doesn't happen when you're comfortable. It happens when your system is under strain. When you're pushing against resistance, when you're operating in that zone just beyond what feels manageable, that's where the brain becomes malleable. What you do during those hard moments is what gets encoded. When everything in your body says stop, when your muscles are fatigued, your focus is fading, your emotions are volatile, and you still execute, you're sending a powerful signal to your nervous system. This behavior matters even under pressure. That's how you hardwire it. Choose your hard. Everything in life comes with hardship. Make a decision. At some juncture, you will encounter pain. If you don't go to the gym, it's going to hurt you. If you do go to the gym, it's going to hurt you. Your muscles are going to tear. But on the other side of that pain, there is a reward. Choose reward or regret. Pain is inevitable, unavoidable. Pick your pain. Story time. The boxer who refused to break. I knew a young boxer, raw talent, but he had a glass jaw when it came to adversity. The moment he got hit hard, the moment he felt the real pain of the fight, he'd fold. He'd make excuses. He'd blame the referee, the crowd, his trainer. He lacked mental fortitude. I told him, kid, you're looking for comfort in a war zone. You're mistaking pain for weakness. Your body can take it. Your mind's the problem. I put him on a brutal regimen. Every day he trained past discomfort, past boredom, past the point where his body screamed to quit. He learned to recognize the dopamine dropout, the urge to escape, and he forced himself through it. He learned that neuroplasticity wasn't a theory, it was a result of pushing through strain. He didn't become pain-free. He became pain-tolerant. He learned that when he pushed through the initial discomfort, his brain adapted. He started to thrive under pressure. He finished that fight, not because it got easier, but because he became unbreakable. That's how you forge the will of iron, by consistently, relentlessly embracing discomfort. 3. A sniper's eye, eliminating distractions with lethal precision. Focus isn't a suggestion, it's a necessity. In a world drowning in noise, a killer's focus is your ultimate competitive advantage. Most people's minds are bleeding attention, constantly pulled in 1,000 directions. Attention is a finite resource. Your attention is a biologically limited resource, not metaphorically, literally. You only have so much attentional bandwidth in a given day, and once it's gone, it's gone. Every time you let yourself get pulled into a meaningless argument, scroll through junk content, or chase external drama, you're spending that precious neurochemical fuel. Those reserves are what you need to build something meaningful, to develop a skill, to solve a hard problem. If you've scattered your attention across dozens of micro-distractions throughout the day, there's nothing left in the tank for the things that actually matter. Silence as a weapon. The real breakthroughs happen in silence, not when you're explaining yourself, not when you're proving your worth, but when you're sitting quietly doing the work no one sees. The absence of noise activates the brain's default mode network, enabling deep self-reflection, long-term vision, identity consolidation, and emotional processing. Clarity, direction, and identity are not found in noise. They're built in silence. Practical application: create impregnable time blocks for your most important work. Use a timer, 45 to 90 minutes. Eliminate all distractions. Put your phone in another room. Close unnecessary tabs. Tell everyone you are unavailable. This trains your focus like a muscle. Dopamine from progress, not applause. Your brain's dopamine system isn't built to respond to attention. It's built to respond to progress. Prematurely sharing your goals gives your brain a false sense of completion, burning fuel on perception instead of outcomes. When you stop needing the world to tell you you're doing okay, you know you are, because your biology confirms it every time you show up for yourself. Story time: a monk and a multitasker. I once had a very promising junior broker. He was smart, quick, but constantly distracted. His phone was glued to his hand, notifications pinging every minute. He jumped from a high-stakes call to a meaningless email, then to a quick scroll on social media. He felt busy, but he was getting nowhere fast. His mental energy was like a leaky faucet, constantly dripping away. I told him, your busyness is a lie. You're bleeding potential. You need the focus of a killer. I put him on a strict monk mode protocol. No phone for the first 2 hours of the day, no unnecessary tabs open, no email until after his most important work was done. At first, he genuinely struggled. He felt restless, addicted to the constant stimulation. But after a few days, something shifted. His mind became clearer, his time became more effective. He felt like he was finally back in control. He realized that focus isn't a gift, it's a skill you train. He stopped being a victim of distraction and became a master of his own attention. He became a force, building his future in silence while others drowned in the noise. 4. The unflinching command. Emotional mastery for unwavering focus. To wield the focus of a killer, you must first master your own emotions. A mind riddled with anxiety, anger, or self-consciousness is a mind that cannot concentrate. Mindful indifference. Your emotional armor. Every little comment, every small setback, if it all gets under your skin, you're giving away your power. The most unshakable people don't have fewer problems, they've just mastered how they react. Imagine walking through life unfazed, no more overthinking, no more emotional outbursts, just complete control. This is what it means to act as if nothing bothers you. When you train your mind to remain unmoved, you become the master of your destiny. Practical application. When faced with rejection or defeat, most people let their emotions take over. But those who understand the power of indifference see failure as nothing more than data, a learning experience, an adjustment, a stepping stone. They do not internalize failure. They observe, adapt, and move forward. Silence as a disarmer. Your silence will echo louder than any words. It will gnaw at them, keep them awake at night. They'll wonder why you don't care, why their games don't work anymore. And in that wonder why you don't care, why their games don't work anymore. And in that wondering, they'll destroy themselves. When you stand there, stone-faced, staring into their soul, they don't know what to do. Their confidence crumbles, their facade cracks, and suddenly they're the ones doubting themselves. Your silence becomes the loudest thing in the room, and trust me, that silence will haunt them far longer than your screams ever could. Composure under pressure. Pressure exposes people, some break, some fold. But the strong, they remain unshaken. They prepare their minds before the storm arrives. They understand that pressure is not an anomaly. It is a certainty. When you detach from the need for control over external events, you become unstoppable. When you understand that pressure is inevitable, you stop fearing it. Instead, you see it for what it truly is, an opportunity to refine your composure. Story time: the calm before the storm. I remember a high-stakes negotiation where the opposing CEO tried every trick in the book to rattle me. He'd raise his voice, bang on the table, even make thinly veiled personal attacks. My team was on edge, expecting me to explode, but I didn't. I just leaned back in my chair, took a slow breath, and let the chaos unfold. My face was a mask of mindful indifference. The longer I stayed silent, the more uncomfortable he became. His shouts turned into desperate attempts to provoke me. He expected rage, I gave him indifference. He expected a fight, I gave him silence. He was used to people reacting, losing control. But when he got no emotional fuel from me, his strategy collapsed. I looked him dead in the eye, calm as a cobra, and simply stated my terms. He fumbled, stammered, and eventually conceded. My team was stunned. Later they asked, "How did you stay so calm?" I told them their anger was bait. My silence was the hook. When you don't react, you steal their power. You force them to deal with their own madness, not yours. That's the ultimate power in any high-stakes conversation. That's how you maintain the unflinching command needed for killer focus. 5. The ruthless architect planning and execution with divine precision. Discipline and focus aren't just about grinding. They're about directing your energy with surgical precision. A killer's focus is backed by a ruthlessly executed plan. Organized planning, your blueprint for power, victory, is not random. Wealth, power, freedom, none of them come from chance. They are claimed by men and women who plan with precision and move with force. Organized planning is not optional. It is the master tool of every serious achiever. Without it, your dreams are just daydreams, empty, floating, weak. With it, they become structured, intentional, and real. The man who fails to plan is planning to fail. That's a law. Key step: break your dream into actions. Break your actions into habits. Break your habits into time slots. Break your time slots into a system. Then live that system like your life depends on it, because it does. Accurate thinking. Strip away the lies. Faulty thinking is the cause of every failure, every disappointment, every wasted year. It's the inability to see things as they are, not as you wish them to be. Accurate thinking is survival. It is the foundation of all sound decisions, all effective planning, all lasting success. To think accurately is to take control of the machine between your ears and force it to deal only with facts, only with logic, only with what can be tested, proven, verified. Anything else is a distraction. Anything else is a trap. Guard your mental gates. You must guard your mind like a fortress. Information is everywhere. Most of it useless. Most of it noise. Most of it designed to manipulate rather than educate. The thinker who wins is not the one who consumes the most, but the one who filters the best. Immediate action, the bolt cutter for procrastination. Your goals don't care how you feel. Readiness is a lie sold to the weak. You don't prepare and then act. You act, and through that action, you become prepared. The faster you move, the faster you learn. Adapt and win. Perfection is a lie. Progress is the weapon. Story time. The architect of air. I once met an engineer, brilliant guy, had the most detailed blueprints for a revolutionary new aircraft. He spent years perfecting it. Every bolt, every wire, every calculation was perfect, but he never built it. He was always waiting for the perfect moment to get funding, the perfect team, the perfect materials. He was a master planner, but a slave to procrastination. I told him, "You're an architect of air. You're building a palace of paper. The only way to get real is to move." I literally forced him to take the first ugly, imperfect step, make one cold call. He almost threw up, but he did it. Then another and another. He learned more in an hour of messy execution than in a year of perfect planning. He failed, yes, but he learned. He adjusted. He moved. His business, once a fantasy, became a tangible reality, not because he was the smartest, but because he was the fastest to pull the trigger and execute. 6. The eternal grind, persistence, and accountability as a lifestyle. The discipline of a god and the focus of a killer demand. Eternal grind. This isn't a phase. It's a lifestyle. It's the relentless, unyielding commitment to show up day in and day out, even when results are invisible. Persistence is not motivation. Persistence is not inspiration. It is not about feeling good. It is the ability to keep moving when the inspiration dies. It is the discipline to continue long after the mood is left. Everyone wants to keep going when it's easy. But what about when nothing's happening? When the audience is gone? When the effort feels invisible and the pain feels constant? That is the battlefield. That is where the real is separated from the pretenders. The persistent stay in the game because they've made a decision. This is not optional. This is who I am. I do not quit. I do not pause. I do not need applause to move. I have already committed, and that commitment is final. Ruthless accountability. Without accountability, persistence becomes blind motion. You can persist in the wrong direction. You can work hard and still waste years. Accountability sharpens your focus. It holds you to the standard you set when you were clear, committed, and sober-minded. Most people run from accountability because it exposes their laziness. It confronts their excuses. It demands measurement, truth, correction. But the man who seeks greatness does not run from it. He welcomes it. He knows that the mirror doesn't lie. Failure is fuel. You must stop seeing failure as defeat. It is not the end unless you make it so. Failure is feedback. It is information. It is the sharpening ground of those who do not quit. Every time you get knocked down and get back up, you are proving that your commitment is stronger than your emotion, that your purpose is louder than your pain, that your will is harder than the wall in front of you. And that is a terrifying power, because the man who cannot be broken cannot be stopped. Story time. The unbreakable boxer. I knew a boxer once, raw talent, but he had a glass jaw when it came to adversity. The moment he got hit hard, the moment he felt the real pain of the fight, he'd fold. He'd make excuses. He'd blame the referee, the crowd, his trainer. He lacked persistence. I told him, kid, you're looking for comfort in a war zone? Your talent means nothing if you can't get off the canvas. I put him on a brutal regimen of self-accountability. We tracked every missed workout, every weak excuse. He was forced to confront his own laziness and lack of follow-through. He trained past discomfort, past boredom, past the point where his body screamed to quit. He learned that neuroplasticity wasn't a theory. It was a result of pushing through strain. He didn't become pain-free, he became pain-tolerant. He learned that when he pushed through the initial discomfort, his brain adapted. He started to thrive under pressure. He finished that fight, not because it got easier, but because he became unbreakable. That's how you forge the will of iron, by consistently, relentlessly embracing the eternal grind. 7. The embodied operating system. Discipline as identity. Discipline and focus aren't just things you do, they become who you are. This is the operating system of a god, installed at the deepest neural level. Neural identity construction. What self-discipline truly is at its core is neural conditioning. And the incredible thing is, it's one of the most malleable aspects of our biology. Through consistent, repeated action, particularly under pressure, we can train our nervous system to prefer doing the hard thing, to find meaning in the struggle, and to tolerate discomfort without flinching. It no longer feels like pushing a boulder uphill. It feels like a part of who you are. Action-oriented identity consolidation. The most powerful individuals, the ones who actually change the trajectory of their lives, don't spend their time talking about what they're going to do. They do it, and in doing it, they rewire their sense of self through behavior, not through verbal affirmation. The prefrontal cortex doesn't care what you say you're about. It only responds to what you consistently act on. The power of self-belief. Belief isn't a reward. It is the result of doing the small things you once promised yourself and not giving up. Every time you follow through on a small action you had committed to, even when no one saw it, when there was no applause, when only you knew, you could feel something growing inside you, the trust you were building with yourself. Discipline is love. Discipline isn't harsh or punishing. It is the highest act of love you can give yourself, because you believe your life is worth being devoted to what truly matters. It trains your subconscious to believe that your word is law, that your actions are not suggestions, they are commands. Story time. The identity shift. I once had a client who defined himself by his past failures, his bad habits, his lack of motivation. He was stuck in a vicious cycle. I told him, you're living out a script someone else wrote. It's time to install a new operating system. Discipline is identity. We started small. He had to perform one small, uncomfortable act of discipline every single day. Wake up early, cold shower, meditate for 10 minutes. The key was he had to do it no matter how he felt. After each act, he had to tell himself, I am the kind of person who follows through. I am disciplined. He felt it shifting inside him, his brain literally rewiring. What was once forced became automatic. His entire self-perception transformed. He stopped trying to be disciplined. He became disciplined. His results, his relationships, his entire life reflected this new, unshakable identity. 8. The unseen predator building power in silence. A killer's focus isn't for public display. It's for ruthless execution. The greatest power is built when no one is watching, outside the gaze of critics and the thirst for external validation. Silence destroys them. Your silence will echo louder than any words. It will gnaw at them, keep them awake at night. They'll wonder why you don't care, why their games don't work anymore, and in that wondering, they'll destroy themselves. When you stand there stone-faced, staring into their soul, they don't know what to do. Their confidence crumbles, their facade cracks, and suddenly they're the ones doubting themselves. Your silence becomes the loudest thing in the room, and trust me, that silence will haunt them far longer than your screams ever could. Building in the shadows, most people are desperate to be seen, to gain validation, to broadcast every minor win. But the real breakthroughs, the true leaps in power and wealth happen in silence. Your competitors can't crush what they can't see coming. The work done in silence matters more than anything else. It's the 5 a.m. wake-ups when no one knows you're grinding. It's the hard choices when no one's applauding. That's where transformation happens. Dopamine from execution. Not expression. Your brain's dopamine system isn't built to respond to attention, it's built to respond to progress. Prematurely sharing your goals gives your brain a false sense of completion, burning fuel on perception instead of outcomes. When you stop needing the world to tell you you're doing okay, you know you are, because your biology confirms it every time you show up for yourself. Story time. The phantom disruptor. I once witnessed a market being completely disrupted by a new player who came out of nowhere. No grand announcements, no flashy PR campaigns, just a quiet, relentless build. My competitors were too busy making noise, shouting their innovations and seeking likes on social media. They didn't see the silent storm brewing. This new player worked in almost complete secrecy. They focused on their product, refining it, making it undeniably superior. They weren't getting dopamine hits from public validation. They were getting it from execution. While my rivals were caught in the illusion of being busy, this company was building an empire in the shadows. When they finally launched, the market was stunned. They weren't just good, they were an order of magnitude better. My competitors, caught off guard, had nothing to counter with. They had underestimated the power of the unseen grind. That company became a dominant force, not because they were the loudest, but because they understood the strategic advantage of building in silence. That's how you operate with the focus of a killer. 9. The godlike ascent, cultivating relentless self-improvement. The journey to godlike discipline and killer focus is an unending ascent. It requires a relentless commitment to self-improvement, always pushing the boundaries of your capacity. Compounding self-education. Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. Dedicate time every single day to learning, not passively, but actively. Read books, listen to mentors, study success. The more you learn, the more you earn. Your level of mind dictates your quality of life. Schedule time to study philosophy, spirituality, metaphysics, psychology, epistemology, stages of ego development, spiral dynamics, the mind. This is a lifelong pursuit of mastery. You will become powerful. Talent is leverage. Your best talent you haven't even hired yet. The level of a business grows like a Christmas tree, with the number and intelligence of brains that goes up. The outsized return on intelligence is so high that it's one of the fundamental arbitrages that exists in business. How much time you save by hiring somebody who knows exactly what to do, how it drives revenue, and they can use 10 years of experience that you don't have to pay for. Invest in top talent. They will make you exponentially more than they cost. Strategic challenges. As you develop yourself, you gain more ability to create order from chaos. You have the power to create a game out of more situations in life. By consistently learning and increasing your skill level and taking on challenges, you're able to do so much more in this world. And pick your battles. Pick a career that allows for a 4-hour workday, start a one-person business, become a value creator, This is how you continue to grow and expand your sphere of influence. The mastermind advantage: no man rises alone. While discipline is forged in solitude, acceleration is born in alignment. When two or more minds come together, aligned in purpose, focused in direction, and committed to the same level of execution, a new force is created. That force can move markets, dominate industries, bend reality, raise your personal standard, and your circle will follow, become valuable, and the mastermind will find you. You've heard it all. The blueprint for the discipline of a god and the focus of a killer. This isn't just theory, it's the raw, unfiltered operating system for superhuman achievement. We dissected why discipline is your only god, not fleeting motivation. How to forge a will of iron by embracing discomfort and strain. The strategy of a sniper's eye, eliminating distractions with lethal precision. The unflinching command of emotional mastery for unwavering focus. The power of a ruthless architect, planning and executing with divine precision. The reality of the eternal grind, turning persistence and accountability into a lifestyle. How discipline becomes your identity, the embodied operating system of a god. The strategic advantage of an unseen predator, building power in silence. The path of a godlike ascent, fueled by relentless self-improvement. This isn't a speech to forget. It's a mental installation. This isn't about being good enough. It's about becoming unrecognizable. Your future depends on the commands you issue to yourself and the world. Motivation is fleeting. Discipline is eternal. Focus is lethal. The clock is ticking. Your potential is screaming for this operating system. It's time to stop wishing and start living like the force you were meant to be. Install it now. Go get it.